Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of the XL Tribesman podcast. My name is Kirkland. I am the host of this show. And today we have a very special guest. Now, I don't want to fuck up your name, but I'm going to try, right? And don't hold nothing against me.
Mm-hmm.
But is it Martinus?
Nope. Try again.
Okay. Mar, not tenuous.
Nope. Try again.
Mar.
You making it harder than what it need to be, bruh.
Martin. Martinez.
Martinez.
Oh my God.
I told you was making it harder. You was doing, what the colonizers doing, putting the in syllables in different places, man.
Ah, ah. Wait, I'm not trying to be like the colonizers, sir. But well, Mr. Evans, thank you for joining the XL Tribesman podcast. I wanted you to talk a little bit about yourself. Introduce yourself to the people. Let the people know what you do. Let them know why I think you're like the dopest fucking person on Instagram. But I want the people to know why you so dope because I already
All righty. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening to wherever you at in the world. My
know.
name is Martinus Evans. I am he and he is me. I'm a fat runner, a marathoner, Adidas, a global ambassador. Got a new book on the way. What else? I got degrees like a thermometer, multiple degrees. And what I like to say is I'm a fat runner, and I'm just here to promote physical activity, fitness, loving yourself, and joy while having fun. Right. My big motto is like helping people enjoy fitness without the pressures of losing weight. And I want everybody to understand and feel that you can exercise, you can enjoy it, and you don't have to have the pressures of losing weight.
you know, and that is why I fucking love you. Because when the shit you post online to me is exactly my mindset. That now keep in mind though, I'll be running like you be running. We doing all that running now, on my thing. But I do, I have found myself in a place where I'm allowing myself to be more physically active without, like you said, without the thought of like, oh, I have to lose weight. It's
Mhm.
like just allowing myself to move, simply just because, like, it's like the simple things. Like, I just want, like, I've been able to accomplish, walking up the stairs now, and I ain't gotta, I gotta do that no more. So, like, it's just the little things for me that I like about it. Um, so I appreciate, your perspective on being a runner. I first found you I want to say you changed your name, right? Your Instagram name. Because it used to be slow as fuck, right?
So that's my other Instagram page. So I have an Instagram play called the Slow F Run Club.
Oh, he got too many for me to keep up. He got too many. Okay.
Yeah, man.
I thought I don't know why I thought you changed your name from that to 300 pounds of running, but I guess that makes sense. You have two brands. So you primarily focus on, in my opinion, you've been focusing your whole journey on teaching people how to run being fat and making them feel comfortable in doing that. How did that journey start for you in running, like being a runner? First of all, how does one say, "Oh, I'm going to be a runner"? That's first.
um, Kirkland, it came from spite, man, on some real shit. 2012, I weighed somewhere near 400 pounds, 360, 370, 380, somewhere around there. Like every scale I got into at that point, I just stopped working. And I was working at Men's Warehouse at the time, slanging suits. So, that's where my fashion style came from. I was slanging those suits at Men's Warehouse. And I was on my feet all the time because we on commission sales,
Yep.
eating whatever. And I walked in there one day and had the sharp pain in my hip. That led me to go to a doctor, which led me to go to an orthopedic specialist. And as I'm sitting there, this guy who's 5'5", maybe 100 pounds, soaking wet, very thick accent says, "Mr. Evans, I know why you in pain." You know, me, I'm like, oh, like maybe it's something to do with me playing football in high school and college or whatever. And he's like, "No, you fat." It's like you got two options. Like you need to lose weight or die. And he go on this whole thing of like trying to shame me into like running and not even running, but like walking. So he go on this whole thing like you need to start walking. You need to walk a 1 mile one day and then another mile another day and like all this other stuff. And then you got belly fat like a pregnant woman. Like this dude was just going in on me.
Shut
And
the fuck
I'm
up.
yeah, dude. So I'm 6'3", like I said, pushing 4, and I'm like, dude,
Aretha would have been
dude.
stanging in that mother.
And I was like, dude. So we go back and forth. We have like this big ass argument. And when it was all said and done, I was like, screw you, man. Like, I'm gonna run a marathon. And he laughed at me. And like this dude laughed at me like I was Dave Chappelle telling some jokes. Like, you run a
Like you can't
marathon?
run a marathon.
Yeah. He's like, if you run a marathon, you'll die. And I guarantee it. And I was like, okay. So I left at the run. I left out the doctor's office and was driving home. So I'm ruminating on the shit. And like I drove past this running shoe store, and I was like, "Oh, like this is it." Bust a Yui, go into the running shoe store, and said, "I need running shoes, and I need them now."
Mm-hmm.
Because like in my mind, like, oh, I'm gonna run this marathon today. Granted, I did not know how long a marathon was, but that's behind the point. I was gonna run that marathon today.
Yeah.
So I bought those running shoes, got home, got on the treadmill, and couldn't even run for 15 seconds. Failed miserably. Just damn near fell off the treadmill, man. Just
How did that make you feel?
like a sack of shit, man. Like I felt bad. I felt like, oh, this doctor might be right. Like maybe I will die. But I have something. So, as I'm going home, a little thug tear came down my cheek and everything. So I'm doing this in the fitness center of my apartment complex. There's two people on either side of me, like these bunnies, treadmill bunnies, like going like 10 and 15 miles an hour. So I'm like, oh fuck, like I'm gonna go like 7. So I failed miserably. Thug tear coming out. And as I'm going home, I reach out to the doorknob and I have a tattoo on my wrist that says "No struggle, no progress." And like as I was reaching for the door, like I seen that tattoo and I was like, oh, like this ain't it. Like he ain't gonna get the best of me. So from that day on, it was going every day, day after day, just getting 1% better. You know, all right, I can run for 15 seconds. Let's try 30.
30.
All right,
Yeah.
now I can run for 30 seconds. Let's try a minute, so on and so forth until I was able to, start talking about minutes to the miles. And then, almost a year later after that, almost a year to 18 months, I ran my first marathon at Detroit, in Detroit, my hometown. So it was a hell of a journey, and I just never stopped ever since.
See, let me pick out something of their story. You see, I too am I'll call myself the king of the small wins. Um, I what was always holding me back from success is that idea that I needed to get from $1 to $1 million. And
Mhm.
what was in the middle, I couldn't visualize what was in the middle. So because I see a million, I will always tell myself, "Oh, ain't no way I'm make it to the million. Ain't no way I'm make it to the million." And I think until I started this brand, XL Tribe, is when I realized that like I could work from $1 to $10, from $10 to $20. And just like you said, those are small wins, going from being able to run for 15 seconds and then run 30 seconds and then run a minute. Like those are small wins that I feel like sometimes, not sometimes, a lot of times when I talk to people, I also feel the same thing that they felt like, oh, I'm never going to be able to run that marathon because I can't even stay on the treadmill for 15 seconds. But it clearly was a journey. It took you a year and a half to run that marathon. You didn't go run that marathon that next day like you wanted to, right? So I feel like that's what I feel like I appreciate about me watching you, I think I've been following you for at least 3 to 4 years now. Um, and interesting enough, fear was stopping me from reaching out to you to do this interview that I've been wanting to do for like a year.
I don't know why. I'm just a regular dude, man.
You
I would have did it a
pop
long time ago.
it. You might be regular, but you like pop it regular. So there's still like a level of fear that I'm, working my own way through. So I appreciate you telling the people, the journey of making it from, 15 to 30 seconds. So how many marathons have you ran since that first one in Detroit?
Eight so far. Eight marathons. I don't know, a total of hundreds, 100 different races
Races?
between like 5K, halves, 10Ks, and things of that sort. But eight marathons in total.
Okay. So in your stories the other day, I saw you posting about your journey about moving, to basically across America because things basically the other side. And so you said that you had a therapist over in California now. So I don't know how open you are about therapy, so you can say what
Oh,
you
sure.
feel or don't. I don't know. But therapy is a very big thing for me in this brand. I feel like it's how I got here. Like it's how I got comfortable enough to be talking to you because that was one of my fears was not talking to other people. I don't have a fear of talking to other people, but I have a fear of putting myself on front street
Mm,
to talk to other people. And so, therapy is how I got this comfortable with doing that. And it's also how I got comfortable in my body. And that was what we were going to talk about because you, like me, like you love your body and you don't
mhm.
spare any type of thought about what anybody has to say about what your body looks like. I love how you poke fun at the people who poke fun at you. I think that's
Yeah,
really witty, by the way.
thank you.
Um, but I wanted to ask about therapy. Like, what was your motivating driver to say, you know what, I need to get my ass up and go see somebody?
Oh man, it's a journey that's been ever evolving, right? I think if I would have had therapy sooner in my life, some of the things that I'm going through in my mid to late 30s, I wouldn't be dealing with, right? So, for example, my brother committed suicide when I was 10. I grew up in Detroit where death was just there, right? Like I literally stayed next to a crack house. Like I seen the D boy who stayed there get killed, right? And then having to go with, oh, well, you need to get from over here. You need to go to the other side of Detroit where people can't find you because of yada, yada, yada. Right. So it's been a thing of just being a black man in America growing up in Detroit I've always had traumas that was like, shut that shit up, just suck it up and just deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And as you get older, those those traumas and shit and those skeletons in the closet will come back to haunt you.
The
And
fuck?
and it haunts you in different ways, right? Whether it's risky behavior, whether it's the relationships that you tear down, whether it's you being a self defeatist, whether it's all of those things, right? And at first it was just like, oh, like, dude is just has an anger problem and that's okay. But it was just deeper than that. It wasn't as one of the things I'm finding out in therapy, it's not anger, it's pain, it's sadness.
Mm-hmm.
And the sadness that's masked as anger.
Anger,
So
correct? Because that's the
um
only way to express it.
yeah, and especially being a black man, right? Anger, aggression is a way, an acceptable way to quote unquote get your feelings out,
Now,
right?
yeah.
Versus crying or anything else, journaling or things of that sort. So, you know, it, I want to say like I've been in and out of therapy. I don't know about 10 or so years. So like since my early 20s, off and on, just really just trying to understand like who is this person and to
Who is he?
parent the parent, the 10-year-old, the 12-year-old, the 13-year-old self that's still going through all the trauma that I experienced. So it has been a wonderful journey to really go through therapy and really um, have a lot of breakthroughs to be like, yo, I went through some fucked up shit. And you shouldn't have had to go through it, but since you did, like this is how you can cope with it. And
Right.
it's one of the things that's funny, right? Like I was talking to a friend, actually on Instagram, because she's like, I used to stay in Detroit, and I say, oh, like why did you move? And she's like, well, my dad robbed the bank, and I was like, oh, okay, like, and she was like, I'm just like I'm happy that it's like I'm both happy and sad that you didn't even blink or like even have a reaction to like my dad
Reaction. Yep.
robbing the bank and me just being like, oh, okay, like yeah, I get it. Um, but yeah, it's one of those things that I've been going through. It's something that I've been practicing, and it's something that I see my life like having on a regular basis until I really figure out like how to um, manage my crazy. But manage my crazy is not even a word that I want to use. Is manage the feelings, the thoughts, the ideas, all the things that's going in me, and
Hmm.
to understand that those thoughts, feelings, emotions is not me, and learning how to separate those things from myself and from my identity. So yeah, it's been tough. With me moving to Detroit, therapists have like these license boards, right? So she can like, a therapist can be licensed in like California or like, but not be licensed in Michigan. So,
Yes.
I had a therapist for like 2.5 years, and we was really like going through some, like making some headway and really, um, like really making progress. And it was my first black therapist too. Like, so for me to like find a black therapist in my 30s, and she was from the Midwest, so she kind of understood the plight that I was going through,
Going through.
and then to like move here and her be like, "Yo, like I will mess with the IRS before I mess with my licensing board. So like we're gonna have to end this until you come back. But since you come going to Detroit, let's hope that there's a more supply of black therapists, and it is right. But I think the whole process of going through the therapy process, right? Filling
Yes.
out all the forms, interviewing these people. It's like dating all over again. I'm
That's right. Listen, I was just about to say that's exactly what finding a therapist is that. It's literally like trying to find someone to marry. It is the same
yeah,
process.
yeah.
It's exhausting, just to be clear.
It is. It's exhausting, right? And going through the process of like looking at psychology today and finding therapists and looking at their bios and being like, man, like your bio not even it's not even like driving me to course.
Not even,
Like,
don't even want to click next.
right. So it's crazy to go through that whole situation, but it's literally like dating. It's literally like trying to find a mate because it's
Oh,
like
wait.
you are
Oh,
somebody telling all my like closet, all my deepest, darkest
secrets,
skeletons,
right?
and you gonna keep those. So I need to be able to be comfortable to tell you these shits.
Listen, I go through therapy. I went through therapy the same way I'm currently going through dating. You call people, you call therapists, they'll call you back. And I'm starting to think, wait a minute, the therapist got communication skills issues too? What's going on? Listen, yo, that was a fucking struggle. I
Yeah,
called, I spent 3 weeks I spent 3 weeks waiting for a therapist, waiting for different therapists to call me back. Like I would leave voicemails for them to call me back and they would never call me back. And then some of them would tell you, oh, they only accept new patients on like Thursdays and Wednesdays or whatever random day it
mhm,
was. You call on Wednesday, they'd be like, oh, so and so out for the day.
yeah.
So I'm sorry, dates be standing me up and my therapist standing me up. Oh, I'm just fucked up. Like,
It's crazy. And then all of the paperwork that goes along with like the intake form. Like I had to go through a 45-minute survey and questionnaire, and it was like a bunch of them. And she's like, yeah, have all of these done before we meet for the first time. It's like, so you want me to fill out all this shit, spend 45 minutes to do this,
Just to
and
see if I
then
like you.
exactly.
He's a no
It's
fucking
tough.
dog. He's
It's
a no.
tough. I think the question about um, you know, getting therapists and starting new therapists, it needs to be a easier process. I don't know what they need to do, but
I agree.
there
I,
needs to be
I
an easier
agree.
process.
I agree. It needs to be so much easier. But thankful now I found a therapist. We've been rocking for a year. But so you say you've been in and out for about 10 years. So here's something that I always wondered, being that I've only been doing it for a year. I wonder something. Is there I always wonder what's the end point. Some people have shared with me that it's just until you feel comfortable. But my thought process is right. So it took me 31 years to get here. How can I unpack all of that in 1 year? Right? It's like,
Man,
yeah, it's gonna take a lot longer than that. That's why I've been thinking
yeah.
about it. I just be like, how long am I supposed to be in this bitch? It's like I don't know.
And that's why you're supposed to find somebody that you're comfortable with, right? Because it's gonna take as long as it's gonna take in order to go through it, right? And even for me, like I said, off and on, and some therapists, hit it one way, some therapists don't hit it that way, right? And I think that, with me being able to first initially have my first black therapist, and like we just hit it off and it was amazing. But like, being imagine being a black boy and being 25 and like having a white woman and she's crying in therapy and you like, I thought supposed to be the one doing it, right? And it's like,
Wait,
okay, yeah. Or having a therapist and it's like, yo, a white therapist and be like, yo, we just adopted our first black kid. Like, can you give us some advice? And like, motherfucker, I'm so be here talking about my traumas and shit.
so you want to pay me $100, $200 an hour? I mean, I give you all the advice you want. If we just, or is this gonna be free? Because if it's free,
Exactly.
we can swap. But I ain't doing that for free. Can I pay you $200?
So, finding someone that you can actually vibe with for whatever period of time it is, it's
Mm-hmm.
definitely.
It's definitely important. I agree. So now you've been on this fitness journey for, well, like I said, I've been following you for about 3 to 4 years. But how long have you been on this journey of like running these
Uh,
races, running these marathons, and like,
since 2012. So my 10-year anniversary is coming up next year. Since 2012, man. Like, 300 pounds of running initially was a blog. I was blogging before blogging was cool. And then when Instagram came around, I hopped on Instagram. Same thing with Facebook. Same thing with podcasting and all the other stuff. So I've just been around, man. It's been a larger part of my life for 10 years, just
almost a
about 10
decade.
years.
Come on now, come on. That's see, and I guarantee you, there's a part of you that feels like you just getting started.
Yeah, it is. It is. You know, I don't even know if I was saying this, but I'm in the process of signing a book deal, and it's like it took me 10 years to get this. It's
To get
something I've been dreaming about like since I started. So like I think my life when it comes to this social media, whatever you want to call this, influencer fitness guy, I feel like it's just getting started because I feel like, once this book come out and everything when it comes to that, like it's gonna be a whole bunch of new people who've never even
who've never heard of you.
heard seen in me.
Oh, when you get the book, you gotta come back. We gotta talk.
Yeah,
All right.
absolutely.
So I like to do this thing on Instagram. Not on Instagram. It's not on Instagram, but I like to do this thing where I pull a picture from your Instagram and we talk about how many shots it takes to get there. Tell me like the scene around it, like what made you take it. So this is the photo that I wanted to talk about. Let's see if I
Oh,
see if I can do it like the Instagram people do. Yeah.
yeah. Get your Instagram hands.
Right?
Um, um, Sugarlet took that picture.
Okay.
Suge at Sugarlet. Um, Let me get Suge's pronoun. I think Suge's pronouns is they and them.
Okay.
Um, Suge is a phenomenal and fantastic photographer, and they just happen to be in the San Francisco Bay Area,
Mm-hmm.
and it's like, hey, like you can come, you can be however you come through you want, but mainly I do nude shoots, or try to get people as nude as possible. And I remember being like, well, shit, like I don't mind being naked, like whatever. Like I got my significant other, and like they ain't going nowhere. So I'm
Mm-hmm.
like, fuck it. So it's funny because like I was literally in a stranger's backyard that Suge had met just for the first time to
Oh.
take the shoot there. So it was like a follower. So it's like a follower that follows Suge. It's like, hey, I have this backyard. It's beautiful here, yada yada yada. So I go to a backyard that I've never been to before, met Suge for the first time, and then be like, all right, well, I'm finna get naked and let's take these pictures.
Oh, just like that. Like just Jamaican when people say just so.
Just like that. Like it was, the shoot was maybe about 2.5 hours, and it was literally just in the nude, shooting the shit, taking pictures. And those are like one of my favorite pictures because I remember Shug was like, hey, like before you come, like bring some flowers. And I'm like, all right. And then Shug was like, yo, I think I'm gonna put these flowers under your boobs. Like, you okay with that? I'm like, well, shit. I don't give a fuck. Put whatever you want on these man titties. And she's like, I'm gonna
So
put these
that was
flowers.
her idea to put the flowers right
Yeah,
there.
it was Shug's idea to put the flowers there.
Oh, sugar idea. Okay. Oh, that's pretty cool.
And and that shoot is a bunch of photos of with me and flowers and things of that sort. And it I think it was just interesting to like have that. I don't even want to say softening, but like showing a different side of a individual that you wouldn't ever see, right? And I thought it was cool. Like, it was interesting, when I talked to my lady about it. So she's like, "So what you gonna do with these?" I'm like, "I'm gonna put them on Instagram." So she's like, "So you just got naked and took pictures
Mhm.
just to put them on Instagram?" I was like, "Yeah."
Listen, Shug, you need your props. Them some
Look,
first
is
of all,
dope.
those are some dope photos. But I agree. It's one of the things that I love to see. I love to see things on online that are, for lack of better words, jarring. Because I feel
Mhm.
like people need to see more images like this. The reason people are uncomfortable with fat bodies is because they're not used to seeing it. And they're not used to seeing it because people tell them you shouldn't see it. So everyone's
Right,
hiding it. And really, I'm like, no, 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 no. Show the rows, show the titties, let them out.
right,
Like, the more we do this, the more normalized it'll be to see bodies of all sizes. Because I always think of like, every time I see a big body on Instagram, the first thing I think of is like, oh, this is amazing. Second thing I think of is more people need to see this. So instantly I'm like, share, share, share. And one of the things about that is because I do want people to get more comfortable in their own skin. And
mhm,
I notice people become comfortable in their skin once they see an example that looks like them. And so that's why it's important whether people feel like we're going to get into that promoting, basically, whatever fuck that means. Um, that's why it's important to promote obesity, because I don't think people understand. Like, I'm gonna talk for myself.
okay. Lay it on
Seeing
me.
fat people work out make me want to work out. So if that's
Okay.
promoting obesity, then so the fuck be it. The whole reason, I don't know if you can see, well, you can't. Well, maybe you can. Like, I bought myself an exercise bike.
Mhm.
I wouldn't have bought that had I not seen fat people like you work out. I would have never bought that bike. I would have never, you know, made myself get on this bike 3 to 4 times a week. I'm active in ways before Instagram, I never was
Mhm.
because I see fat people promoting obesity. So fuck that bullshit. That's where I'm getting at. So I have some rapid fire questions for you.
Okay.
Considering that you are, I'm gonna call you a master runner. Um, what's the best running shoes?
Uh it depends on who paying me.
Well, listen, I appreciate the honesty, and we're gonna let that one go on that one. What's your best race story?
Oh man, I have tons of them. Berlin Marathon is
Wait,
one.
wait, 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 wait. You ran a race in Berlin?
Yes.
Oh, you famous.
Yeah, dude, people travel around the world to run races. That's one of the reasons why I was like, oh, like there's a race in Tokyo. I ain't never been to Tokyo.
Time to
You
go.
know, now it's time for me to go to Tokyo. Berlin Marathon. First time just being in Berlin. It was just amazing being there, seeing parts of the Berlin Wall. Um, ran the race, didn't finish. Like heartbroken, didn't finish. Um, they gave me the wrong medal initially. I got an inline skating medal versus a marathon medal.
Wait,
It was a lot of things that happened during that race
wait.
that, yeah.
Was that like to insult you?
Kirkland. How long this podcast ought to be? Because we can talk forever.
Ah,
Uh, so,
shit.
maybe- so here's the T. By
Mm-hmm.
being so with running and races, right? So you have, I want to say three or four different type of categories, but you can kind of break them up into two. People who are elite runners
Mm-hmm.
and then non-elites. At the race, these types of big races like Berlin, New York City, Chicago, Tokyo, London, and there's one more, Boston. That's called the World Major. So it's the sixth largest races in the world. It
In the
can be
world, right?
ranging between 40,000 to 100,000 people there running a race, yada, yada, yada. During races, there's this thing called like, so races have like race cutoffs. However, these big races usually, even though they have a quote unquote cutoff, they usually just let people go because it's so large.
Mm-hmm.
Berlin Marathon. So I ran New York City, Boston. I participated in Chicago. So like volunteered and things of that sort. Like that, those are part of the world majors. They let people continue to go on. Berlin was in that case. Even though I was promised by like the volunteers to say, hey, like I know I'm falling behind, yada yada yada, but I'm still gonna finish this race. And it's like, oh, like you're gonna finish, you can cross the finish line. I get to the Brandenburg Gate, that big gate that they always show in Berlin with that was like where the Nazis sent the people through.
Yes.
Um, you run through that, and when I can literally see the finish line, Kirkland, but it was this big ass gate that blocked the whole finish line. And I'm trying to tell the dude, so like I'm trying to tell the dude like, no, like I need to finish the race, and he's like, no, race is over. And it's like, no, I need to finish this race. Like I need to cross the finish line. It's like, no, like nobody's crossing the finish line. Like the race is over. So I end up talking to somebody and it's like, yeah, like, they're not letting nobody cross. But if you go, you know, somewhere else, like around the corner, they'll give you a race medal for like participating. Cause
Mm-hmm.
that's mainly what people want. So I get there, I'm crying and shit. You can see, I think I still have it saved in my, on like my, what you call it? The Instagram when you save the,
Oh,
what's the name?
the highlights.
The highlight. So I still got the highlights there. Like your boy's breaking down, crying. Like I done ran this whole race, and then somebody gives me an inline skating medal, and then eventually I end up getting like a marathon medal. But I still have both of those medals um
A reminder.
as a reminder of like like I need a redemption race to actually finish and cross the finish line. But B, like it's also a thing of letting people know like people don't give a fuck about you. They just want your money and like that'd be it.
So I know you've talked extensively about that. By the way, I remember you. Do you still blog? Like,
Off and on. since I got this book thing, I'll be vlogging more though.
Sense. Well, I remember you talking in one of your blog posts about that you wanted people who put on races to stop ending them early or something like that. I think I remember that a few years back about you talking about that. So I'm guessing this Berlin experience is not a, what's the word I want to use? It's not a singular event. It's
No,
something
it's
that
not.
happens.
It's something that happens a lot, right? And I think that's a lot of like that biggest hurdles to getting people active and participating into races is knowing that they're afraid that they might get out there and get lost, run out of water, like all these things because race directors, do whatever, whatever. And I understand, right? Like it costs money to put on a race. It costs money to block streets. It costs money to do all this other stuff. But I also think like it's their right versus having to fill out a what is it like a liability waiver to say, hey, like it's on your own liability. Like I think it's their right to make sure that anybody who starts their race
Finish
need
it.
to finish or they need to pick their ass up and bring them back, bring them back.
Agreed. I feel you on that. I feel you on that. So now, so that kind of sounds like a little bit of both, but it might not be because my next one was what's your worst race story? But that sounds like that might be bad too. So I'm not sure if that's both in one.
It's both.
Okay.
Um, It can be both, but I think there's another race that I had, and it wasn't like bad in the sense like the race was bad. It's bad in the sense that it was just a horrible day. So like my first half marathon was in Connecticut. And it was the hottest day of the summer, and
Whew.
they tried to have water and everything else. It was so hot. We were long. We were running along the Connecticut coast. It was humid, and I remember them having to call the fire department and like spray us down, spray the runners down with water at like different mileages because people was dropping like flies.
Because it was so high.
It was so hot. And I remember running that race and being so proud that I finished, but your boy was nauseous for 3 days afterwards.
Oh,
It was
you
it
know
was
what?
bad.
I want to talk about that. You just put a thought in my mind. What's recovery time like when you run these races?
Um Initially when you first start, it can be about a week. But
A
as you
week.
about a week, about a week. And the thing is, it's different because you're training for it, right? Like most marathon training plans at minimum is a 12-week. If you new to it, I would say you need about a half a year to go literally from like couch to like marathon. A little
Mm-hmm.
bit longer if you had it, but like a half a year, you can do it. You ain't gonna have no life, but you can do it. About the time you get there, yeah, it'll probably be about 3 to 4 days to about a week to like fully recover. But just like any other thing with exercise, it's like the first time you go to the gym, you sore it in the mud, but if you keep going like the same things, you just don't feel it no more.
See,
The
I
same
can't
thing with
see it.
running.
I can't make it past the soreness. I'll be
You
out.
gotta you gotta make it you gotta make it past the soreness. It's the same thing with running. And like, it was times where before COVID, like I ran 4 races in a year or 5 races in a year. And the recovery time was like nothing. Like I'll run a marathon and then the following weekend, we call it race stacking. So I'll run a marathon one weekend, the following weekend, hop on a plane and we'll go run a half marathon and then hop on a plane and go run another one. And the thing about the world majors, they're all clustered together. So it's like there's a race in September, there's two in October, there's one in November, and then you got I think it's two in November. So like in race season, like once you run one marathon, like why just stop there? Like run all of them,
Run
run as
all
many
of
as you
them.
can.
Okay.
So that's what we do. Like we'll run a marathon, and I'll talk to some people and be like, hey, what y'all doing? What y'all going up to? It's like, oh, like we're running MCM, which is Marine Corps Marathon in DC. It's like, well, shit. Like, let me see if I can get a ticket there. I'll be there too. Boom, run that race. Oh, we going down to Oklahoma to run Route 66. Shit, I ain't never been to Oklahoma before. Well, let me see if they got any entries. They got some entries. Boom, I'm there too. Next thing you know, it's like, hey, we run an LA marathon. I was like, well, shit, man. Like, when is it? Oh, it's in about 3 weeks. Like, fuck. Well, looking at the calendar, it's like, well, I just ran one and I ran another half and I got another one. Well, shit, what's another marathon? So at
Right.
that point, it becomes this healthy addiction, but it's fun because you start to meet a lot of different people at different locations. And I think that's one of the reasons why, like, my Instagram following is the way it is, or like the way I am, right? Is because I'm traveling to these different places. I'm literally having conversations with people while running and be like, hey man, this shit sucked, ain't it? And they be like, yeah, this sucks. And it's like, oh, like I know you 300 pounds of running, right? Like, yeah.
Yep.
And like we have a conversation and things of that sort. And like that's where the idea of like the Slow F Run Club came about, that, I wanted a place where I wanted to bring more people along this course of like running different races, traveling, and just having fun, like while being a plus size individual. And, you know,
Well,
6,000 members later, it's popping.
that's what I. So that was going. You leading right into my space. So you know, I noticed this conversation happening more often than not these days because of the simple fact that people are constantly being kicked off of Instagram, especially big people are being
Mhm.
either kicked off of Instagram or their content is consistently being flagged by Instagram. And so one thing that I noticed you do, you have your own do we call it my membership club or
Yeah,
is that a
community.
community?
Yeah, man.
You have your own community called Slow AF. And so I wanted you to talk a little bit about the community, tell people like where they can go sign up, because I think it's a dope community for people who are looking to get into running or who are into running or who just need a little bit more motivation. Because, I don't know where you find it at, but you're so consistent. Like, that's the thing. So, like, they might find some of that, pull some of that energy from you. So how to get into this club? What is the club go? You know, what do you guys do in the club and how can
Absolutely.
they join?
So the Slow AF Run Club is touted as the best community for slow, fat, and back of the pack runners on the internet.
Oh wait,
We
that's
about
wait, that's a line. You need to put that into like a little jingle. Slow fat and back in the pack. That was that had a little
big
thing to
fat. Yeah. Um, you then threw me off.
it.
uh, yeah, it's the best community for slow, fat, and back of the pack runners on the internet. We're about 6,000 members strong, and we just provide support, education, and motivation for people who a are in the back of the pack, b who are interested in running, and then c like just some community, right? And doing it in a quote unquote body positivity, body healthy type of way, right? So for
Mhm,
example, we do a Zoom workout every other week where we have someone come in and do like body positive workouts or like body accessible workouts. So we have a trainer that comes in and give you a range of different exercises, from like cheer workouts for the people who, you know, need the cheer workouts, to everything else in between, right? And
mhm.
then, I also provide coaching there. I'm a certified run coach, so I provide some run coaching is there as well. And the other thing is just providing community where people wouldn't necessarily find it in like Facebook groups and things of
Right.
that sort. You
Yes.
know, one of the things that we're big on is no weight loss talk. There are so many places on the internet where you can talk about diet coaching and weight loss. We don't
Oh,
talk about it here. Like,
that's
if you
pretty
want to talk
dope.
about running,
Yep.
yeah. Like, if you want to talk about running, if you want to talk about working out, you want to talk about non-scale victories, like we can do that, but we don't talk about weight loss here. So, that's the motto and mantra of like the community, is that I want people to be able to celebrate exercise and know like it's not a punishment for losing weight. Because if you look at the science, like it's not the way. So it's one of the things that I help provide with people, because I have that scientific background. You know, I want to tout myself as being like one of the most educated people on Instagram when it comes to like this health and fitness. But
Go ahead, pop
you
your
know,
collar.
no, you know what I'm saying. But you know, I have a bachelor's in exercise science, right? I have a master's in health promotion. Like I've worked at a weight loss clinic before. I've done this stuff, and like I know how deeply rooted like this weight loss culture and shit is, right? And I just
Hmm.
want to be able to provide a space where like you ain't had to worry about it there. Like we're gonna celebrate you. Like if you ran for 1 second, or 26.2, like we're going to celebrate it because it's really about celebrating those things of getting active. And if people just only knew, like there are so many other ways that are benefits that exercise or just being physically active have on your body than just weight loss. Like I feel like I've done my job.
You've already done your job, because if you provide a safe haven on the internet where you don't have to hear people talking about, oh, I just ate a Twinkie and I gained 5 pounds. If you can provide a place like that on the internet, whatever you charge is worth it. Just so we clear.
And that's
All the other stuff is just a little razzle dazzle. That part right there, it.
and that's what we do, right? And it's about changing people's minds and having changing their mindsets to say, hey, like we don't talk about weight loss here. We don't, when you talk about food, it's not as in a way of like a negative way. It's in a way of like how do you fuel your runs or your physical activity. So like we're not talking about food in a weight loss way. Like we're not even talking about like specific diets. I don't care what you are. Like you pescatarian, donutarian, I don't give a fuck. Like how you going to
Oh,
use a diet, to
I want to
help
be on
you,
that diet.
you know what I'm saying? Like how you going to use that diet in order to like help you become a better runner or a better
Mhm.
athlete or a better person and like just fuel your exercises. So like if we can just take that stigma away from like food or like this conversation or just stigma away from like being a larger individual and like exercise, right? Like there are so many things that I've been through. Like I didn't even know there was like creams and bombs and everything till you like put in between your legs and your ass to go run, so your ass won't be on fire after running for so long.
Who knew that?
Exactly.
That's why they need a joint.
That's what I'm saying. So like it's so many things that I've been through. Like, cause let me tell you, Kirkland, it's not fun to be running for let's say a 10 miler. I got all this meat, my legs running together, my leg hairs getting caught up in each other, and like now you just chafed your body on fire and you get in the shower and everything feels like 1,000 cuts.
Oh,
We, like what would it, how would that change the world to say, hey, bro, like you need to go get some body glide? Or hey, bro, there's like different oils or things you can put on your body to like help prevent that chafe. So like your ass and your legs and your nuts is just not on fire from
fire.
running
Oh
all.
my. Oh, shit. Mm. I felt it.
Or being like, hey, bro, like you shouldn't be wearing cotton drawers while exercising because like that cotton soak up all that moisture and now it's just all on your nuts and your thighs. It's mildewing that as you work out.
That's. I've made some discoveries today, y'all. I always wondered why, when I see fitness ads or when I see people working out, they're never wearing them, and I never knew why. Mind blown. Mind blown. See, that's why y'all need to pay for his community. That
Yeah,
over there. That over there.
because the thing is being a plus size individual, just learning. Like if this is your first time, for example, if you're what we like to call an adult onset athlete. Like some of this stuff you just missed out on. Like you don't know not to work out in cotton draws. Like you don't know that you shouldn't be wearing cotton t-shirts and shit to do it. You just be like, well, this is what I got around the house and this is what I'm gonna wear.
But it's bad for you.
It's bad for you.
Mm. All right. Listen, wow. My mind is still. I'm still trying to recover, y'all. I'm still trying to recover because thanks. That's all I want to say. And the listening audience, I hope y'all thank him too. So this is what I want to know before we wrap this thing on up, right? So when it comes to your business of being 300 pounds and running, I want to leave the people with a sense of if they're if they came to this podcast and they was like, oh, I don't know how to get started with running, although I have an idea in my mind just now when I said that, but I don't know where to get started, or I don't know, like I want to be more active, but I don't know, you know, what's the best out option for me. Like what would you give that person as like, all right, you want to get started? This right here, after 10 years, this is what I would say. This is where you should start.
www.slowafrunclub.com. Start there, sign up, holla at your boy. Um, so that's the first thing. The second thing is that some advice and some real talk that I wish somebody would have told me earlier is
Mm-hmm.
that we all start at zero. Like when you start something new, you start at zero. Our zeros is going to be different person to person, but we all start at zero. And a lot of us, we compare our zero to what somebody has been seeing, in my example, for the past 10 years of like going at it and banging my head at this for all this time, right? So, like, that's the first thing. Do not compare yourself to somebody else's journey because you don't know where they've been and you don't
Mm-hmm.
know where they're going. But for
Mm-hmm.
you, it doesn't matter where you started, all it matters is where you're going. Like, so if a person who was 400, almost close to 400 pounds, who ran on a treadmill for 15 seconds, fell off and all this other stuff, and 10 years later, had the staying power to keep at it and be where I'm at now. Like, it's really about that. It's about consistency over time. Like, that's the secret. That's the secret. But the thing is that consistency over time, it's not sexy. Sometimes it's boring. Sometimes it's
Consistency isn't sexy, and that's really what it is. I ain't gonna lie to
yeah,
y'all. Consistency ain't sexy at all. It's boring as fuck.
yeah. It is. But that's what it takes, right? Like
Mm-hmm.
consistency and persistence and doing that over time, like that'll get you to anything that you want to be. Like look at me. I've been at this thing for 10 years. And if it wasn't for me being like, oh, like I got a bone to pick with this doctor, and keep going. Who knows if I ever would have started? But since I started, I didn't stop. And I think that's where a lot of people fail is that they just stop.
Then just stop, and you
Yeah.
never stop.
Yeah.
Consistency is it
Yeah.
for real.
And if you need some accountability or, things of that sort, I do run coaching. I do one-on-one coaching as well. slowafrunclub.com. You can find out more information there.
Um, One last question, something that popped in my mind. So this is a
What you got?
real petty ass note. Did you ever go back to that doctor and be like, "Look at all these medals, motherfucker"? Did you ever
Hell
do that?
no. That motherfucking not in my lexicon no more. I don't know you know who the fuck he is.
Oh,
You know
okay.
what my You know what Maya Angelou said. People may forget what you said or how you said, but one thing they don't forget is
How
how
you
you made you
make them feel? That's a
feel. Hmm.
fact. You never forget that part.
Yeah.
Well, I want to thank you so much for coming on this podcast, and I want to thank my therapist for me working the nerves up to do this in the first place. So let me add that in there
Shout out
too.
to therapy.
But thank you so much for joining us on the Excel Tristem podcast. This has been an amazing podcast for the books. Thank you so much. Until next time. I don't know when it's gonna be. Until next time. See y'all.